I was finishing up the editing for this monitor video I was just about to upload, but I figured I'd put a quick note on the beginning here explaining why this video is kind of all over the place. And the reason is I had two monitors I was working on this past weekend, and I intended on making repair videos for each of them that went into more detail and had a lot more information in them, but some footage was missing, some stuff I forgot to record, and basically both projects ended up, getting kind of rushed, and it wasn't up to par for being a normal repair video. So I tried to edit together what footage I had and kind of make it into a video that's kind of says, here's what I worked on this past weekend, sort of deal. And as far as the monitor, the Acer AL2416W, I did fix one of these some time ago and had a little more information in that video. This was almost an identical repair, so any of you that are watching this video trying to figure out how to fix one of those, see the other video. And if there's any questions on the parts I used and things like that, you can always ask on that video in the comments. But yeah, this footage was originally not going to be released at all, but I figured some of you might like to see it anyway. So hopefully I'm not wasting my time by uploading any of this. This is an Acer AL2416W 24-inch computer monitor. I got this off eBay to see if I could fix it in the same way that I did that one over there. I think it was a good couple of years ago that I did that one. That needed a backlight inverter repair. But this one, I'm not so sure what the deal is yet because it has a totally different symptom. That monitor over there would turn on and show a picture for a couple seconds and then go out. This one, the only thing it does is light up the power light. No image on the screen whatsoever, no backlight, nothing. So, let's take a look inside. I think these were one of the more simple monitors to take apart, if I remember right. It looks like there's just 4 screws holding the stand on and 4 screws holding the back panel on. This plastic cover over the hinge just snaps in place. So let me get these screws out of here, and hopefully this back panel will just come right off. Almost forgot about that one little screw in the middle there. Takes care of that. Now I gotta pull this cover off. I'm starting to remember this now. They have a full shield over all the boards. Backlight inverter is here, and the main board and power supply are in here. It's just a lot of screws to take out around the edges. Well, everything looks pretty much like I found in the other monitor. The inverter's definitely got some problems. I got blown capacitors and some visible discoloration of the board up here from the heat. And I'm going to work on this inverter first because I want to fix this regardless, even if the rest of the monitor is junk, because I want a spare for the working monitor at the very least. Looks like this inverter failed in about the same way as the last one. The capacitors went bad and shorted out, and then it caused this MOSFET here on the left to short out from source to drain, and it also blew this little pico fuse down here, F2. That didn't happen on the other monitor, so slightly different, but pretty much the same failure overall. And I might have the parts in stock to fix this, except for that fuse, because I thought I ordered spares on the last monitor, so I'll have to take a look and see what I've got in stock. Alright, I just cut to the chase and put everything back in. Did the same thing I did on the other monitor. And for that fuse, I've got a temporary 2 amp fast blow fuse attached by some wires. The power's plugged in. Looks like it might work. I need to get a signal to put into this so it can actually stay on. I found my netbook sitting in the other room, just all lonely, so I decided to use that for a test jig. I've got this thing on its stand temporarily. The big ugly fuse hanging off the board still. But let's see what this thing's gonna do. Just want to make sure the panel's not cracked before I put any more time into it. It's alive! Awesome. Well, at least I know the panel's not cracked, and it appears to be functional. Yeah, it's running in the wrong resolution. But now I know I can go ahead and recap the main board and get the right fuse for the inverter. I can put this thing back together and have a nice matching pair of screens on my workshop computers. I've always preferred the 16 by 10 format over the 16 by 9. It just gives you a little more area to work, and I don't know, it's just a little more pleasing to the eye in my opinion. Well, it looks like my guess of a 2 amp fast blow fuse was right about where it needed to be. Monitor's using 1.25 amps right now, and I saw it go up to 1.3 when I first turned it on. So I think a 2 amp fast blow, well in this case it's just going to be a 2 amp pico fuse, would be a good start. The smallest I'd want to go would be about a 1.5, 1.6. So I'm just going to measure the pico fuse, figure out the case size, and pick up a new one at Mouser Electronics. Well, despite it being 10 o'clock on a work night, I decided to take a minute and hook it up to the shuttle computer so I could run it at the proper resolution. I'm also using the DVI connector instead of the VGA this time, and it looks fantastic, other than there's a pretty noticeable pressure mark at the bottom left corner of the screen here. But that's not a huge deal. The monitor over there actually has marks in the bottom right corner, so at least they'll be twins. Backlights look good. It's got really good white levels, and you know, it looks great. In fact, it might even look a little bit better than that one does. So I'm really looking forward to getting this finished up. Now that it's Friday night, I've had a little more time to get this finished up. I've got the main board all recapped. This time around I actually had the proper size capacitors, so I didn't have to lay any of them sideways. I found a pico fuse on this dead backlight inverter here. I'm hoping that it's going to work for this larger inverter. It's got the same marking on it and everything, but everything's all put back in, ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and give it the real test. Knowing my luck, that pico fuse will blow. I already got all the covers back on, but we'll find out, right? Let this thing do its self-test before I... You know, I think I got the LVDS cable on there loose. Doggone it. Well, I gotta take it all back apart. Knew I should have tested it before I turned it, hooked it up over here. Alright, that was weird. I just power cycled the monitor and it came back on. It worked normally, so let's try it. Maybe it doesn't like being turned on through the AC cord like that. Of course, that one doesn't have any trouble with it. Beats me. Still got no come on. What's this thing doing? There we go. It's just being finicky. Not bad, not bad. Other than that stupid pressure mark. There are a couple of scuff marks and small nicks in the screen too, but you can't really notice them when you're using it normally. The pressure mark is much more noticeable. And geez, oh Pete's, this computer takes forever to load, that old mechanical hard drive. And you get used to that with the SSD, it's like no comparison. Man, this thing's bright. This monitor actually has a Samsung panel in it. I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe it was a AU Optronics or something, but it's a Samsung. Probably the whole monitor's probably a rebadged Samsung actually. Yeah, the camera's not really picking it up, but this thing is very, very bright and vivid. That's why I like this model so much. It's also why the inverter is so large. It has 6 powerful CFL lamps in it. which is you know, I think it's a 500 nits brightness, which is really high for a regular TN style panel. And usually backlights this powerful are more common in IPS panels that require more backlight power. I almost got to turn this down, it's kind of hurting my eyes. I just realized that these two monitors have different logic boards. Completely different. The menus are different and the buttons do different things. Look at that. That one's a lot smaller, and pressing auto doesn't bring up the color menu like this one does. Standard, text, wow, that's dark. User. It was on graphics before, which was why it was so vivid. I'm just going to put the two side by side and try to balance them out the best I can with each other. Yeah, I'd say this one's definitely got a better picture on it. That one seems to have a little more wear on the backlights because the brightness is at 98 and this one's only at 80, and they're about even. There's the problem with the screen on this one. I don't know if it got wet, something got inside the diffuser of the screen there, or what the deal is. I want to take a look at this Acer X223W LCD monitor that was donated by one of my viewers recently. It was already taken apart when I got it, so I'm not sure what's wrong with it, but I'm going to find out. Well, the first thing I think I'm going to do is try to mount the power supply board back onto the frame. I don't really like the idea of running it on a piece of bubble wrap. I also have a broken connector here that probably happened when it originally got taken apart. So if I can get that to go back in, I'm going to have to glue it in place. For now, I'm not too worried about it though. It's another Samsung panel. Every monitor I have down here has a Samsung panel in it, I think. Well, let me see if I can find the screws for this somewhere. Well, I ended up getting some more bubble wrap to insulate it better and decided to power it up like this. And it looks like it actually comes on. Saying cable not connected. Wonder what the deal is with this monitor. Some intermittent problem maybe. I can't remember what they told me the problem was they were having with it. But I'm going to mount the boards back in the holder so I can work on this a little easier. Alright, I checked all the caps and they're all within spec. Reasonably anyway. I used some old CD-ROM screws to mount that board back in. It's the same kind of thread. So all I got to do is hook the screen back up and see what this thing does. Using the ever handy shuttle computer, I'm going to put a signal into this thing and see if it actually works. Turn this on. Trying to listen for any arcing from the backlights. Yeah, I got a picture. Seems to be flickering. Oh, there it is. This thing actually work? Guess I'll find out when the whole screen lights up. Turn the light off here. I think the picture is out. Try and power cycle that monitor. I think that's what they said was wrong with it. I think the picture goes out after a couple minutes. It looks okay right now. Yeah, it just went black. Let's see if it's the LCD. Okay, yeah. I can just barely see the picture on there, so the inverter circuit is shutting down. Wonder if it's the panel that's causing it or the inverter. I might actually have another panel on the shelf I can try. Alright, I think it is the panel. I hear sizzling coming from the top right corner when it's on for a minute. So either the lamp is broken or the wire is broken off the end of the lamp. I'm going to see if I have another panel on the shelf that'll work on this. If not, I'll take this one apart and see what's going on. Well, I found a similar panel on the shelf that's a glossy screen, slightly different part number. Let's see what this one does. I don't know if it's even compatible with this board or not. Oh, I see a picture. Let me try and flip this over. Alright, let's try this thing again. So far so good. In fact, it looks really good. The mouse is not tracking on top of that computer. Close this. I don't have my Ethernet cable connected. Darn it. Now this panel, I think, came out of a Dell 22-inch monitor. I'm trying to remember the number. 2205 WFPT or something like that. And this panel has been on my shelf for probably a couple of years. It looks like it might be able to work in this monitor here. And I kind of like the shiny screen, so maybe I'll just leave this panel connected to it. I'm probably still going to take the other one apart and see what broke, just out of curiosity. I'll think about it. I think I've got everything back in where it's supposed to be. I had to carefully put those wires back into that plug, and I think I got the position of the pins right because all the buttons seem to do what they're supposed to do. I taped it all in place. I think it's ready for the back cover. I think I got myself a nice little workshop monitor. This computer's a little on the slow side for doing this, or at least the video card anyway. This is an open source game called Torx. It's part of Ubuntu Linux. I've never actually played it until right now. You know, just as bad as ever, trying to drive through the camera while controlling it with one hand. Ooh. Well, at least I know this monitor's working. I think I've got to put one more screw in the back panel and give it a quick cleanup. And this thing's probably gonna be my workbench monitor, or I may even take it to work and use it there because we have a lot of really old 19-inch 4x3 screens there. So I'll definitely find a use for it. Well, I tell you, sometimes I just can't win. This monitor's been working so well, I was about ready to put it to use on one of my main computers. I love the picture on this panel, and I knew things were too good to be true. Earlier today, while I was working on some server stuff, which I may or may not talk about later, I ended up bumping into the screen with a metal mounting rail and put a nasty scratch in the LCD right here. And now that I know where it is, I always have to stare at it while I'm using the screen. It's just, why couldn't have this been one of my older junky monitors? It had to be the nice one. Why? I guess it could have been worse. It could have cracked it, right? But yeah, I think between these last two monitors I did, I'm going to make one video for both of them, since they were both kind of quick and simple repairs and not really enough information to go into dedicated videos for either of them, especially since I had a prior video about that same model monitor. But I ended up liking the one I just fixed a little bit more, so I put that on the new computer. It had just a little bit better picture and a little bit later firmware. It ended up being about a year newer than the other one. So that one's going to get a lot of use. In fact, it's been running for the whole weekend so far. It's been working perfect. And this one, probably just going to be a workbench monitor unless I find a better use for it. But I'm just so mad about that scratch. I guess sometimes you just can't win. I should look on the bright side though. I did get my other server up and running, and I'm thinking about making a video about that. I have very little video footage about it, and it would probably seem kind of dumb and pointless. It's just like, oh yeah, here's the server, it's running, here you go. But I don't know, we'll see.